世间所有的相遇，都是久别重逢。
清风明月如怀抱。
So our ultimate goal is to build up microbiologics, the business, right? For now, we're serving the banks, we're expanding to the hospitals, and then the law office, the governance office, regulatory office, and the government, right? It's going to be a long journey, okay? The marketing right now is leveraging AI, making some movies, right, using multimodal capability. One is building the product in Micro Studio. It's like making movie in a new way, right? Anticipate 95% reduction of the cost for the same quality, probably more effective engagement in terms of marketing and the product engagement. You need to touch the reality, right? You need to engage the potential customers, the partners, and the innovators, obviously the investors, right? You need money to sustain. You need talents to sustain as well, to expand. There's a lot of talk, right? It's not a cause, not teaching anything, not influence anything or anybody. Just candid share the thoughts, right? It's a daily occurrence, you know. Or anytime you have, for a moment we're going to catch up, right? It is part of the product design for sure, right? It's no doubt, right? But it is also engagement. You have to serve the clients, right? And not everybody thinking in the same wavelength as us, right? So yeah, it's going to be a long chat, right? So if you need to take a walk, or need to take a nap, feel free, right? I'm just talking through. We'll try to talk through the world model, right? I'm listening to Silicon Valley 101. It's a fantastic channel program, right? I think some Silicon Valley Chinese startups, right? They're making excellent programs, right? I was lying in a bed and listened casually, right? I didn't catch everything, but you know, make some reference to what I heard, right? Maybe not entirely accurate, right? But in any case, you know, acknowledge that, you know, maybe some of the content we referenced, you know, it don't appear to be the IP, you know. I don't know if they have IPs, but essentially, you know, inspired by what we've been talking about, right? So just acknowledge the credit or thanks to them, right? I think they mentioned Fei Li, right? The Chinese girl, right? This in Stanford or MIT, can't figure out which is which, right? It triggered the ImageNet, if you remember, like 10, 15 years ago. And then eventually the Geoffrey Hinton and AlexNet, right? And eventually the what we call the yeah, I have to capture something, right? Okay, so it's a casual talk. We don't have to be. If you have any questions, post in the chat, right? I might respond next time. I might need some research, right? So feel free, right? World model, right? I think Fei-Fei Li we've been talking about, right? Then eventually, you know, young LeQueen, right? A lot of scientists and, you know, researchers together eventually the ChatGPT moment, right? OpenAI. Credits to Elon Musk, right? It's really pioneer of the age, right? Very innovative, ambitious, right? And has brilliant business sense, even attempting into politics. Probably you can call it as success. It's a new attempt, right? Even failure learned something. Okay, gave him a lot of credit, right? And at least give him a perspective of the world, how it really functions, right? It's an incredible man, right? One of the best we can have as a human species, right? Now, not sure his view on the world model, but I guess the Tesla is it's probably a living example every day. It's deep in the real world. But if you think about it, right? What I was sitting in the Tesla, right? I think the Model Y or something, forgot it, the France car. I don't have it. And was sitting there in Chad, driving in a crowded street and getting on the highway, navigating, you know, 50 miles. It's very smooth. It's incredible. Very impressed. You know, that's around the New Year time, right? But if you think about the the fundamental theory behind it, how it works, is really visual, right? Vision, then kind of understand the environment, really through the automation, the control, right? Navigate the street, navigate the highway, right? Navigate, you know, rely on the maps, right? Then you get into the destination. But does it really understand the physical world? That's not how it works. I guess it doesn't understand it, right? It could get into accident, right? But it works. As simple as the sort of theory is, it works. That's what makes it incredible, right? So it means that a lot of data, credible data, real world data, you know, pump into the XAI model that's driving it, right? Integrated with the, you know, then the maps, you know, geospatial kind of other models, right? Actually made it work, right? But it does not have the world model in it. It could be another form of world model, right? So it appears to me the world model is not one definition. And in fact, we're not here to define that, right? And there's multiple approaches, you know, 5 at least, right? Fei-Fei Li is one, right? It's more like, I think, in the Consumer Electronics Show, right? CES 2026 in Las Vegas, right? Lisa Su, right? The CEO of AMD, right? They had a short demo, right? It is incredible. You take a picture, it actually understands the 3D surroundings, you know, the physics. If you see in a photo there was a table or there's a car, it actually knows the dimension of the car, right? And how it relates to a pole, a ceiling, right? A staircase, right? And it actually, you can interact with it. It can predict next, like, you know, in a large language model, you predict next word. That's very simple, right? In the image, you predict next 2D image, right? You know, 24 times 24 pixels, you know, doesn't matter how, you can make it more like 4K, 8K, doesn't matter, right? I think they are 1080 at that time, or 1024, I forgot what it is, right? But essentially they predict next not next 2D, but next 3D, exponentially increase in terms of computing, right? That's why they partner with AMD. I'm pretty sure they have partnership with who is that person? Jason Huang, right? The NVIDIA. It's strange enough, right? And it seems to be in the community, right? Although as credible, as innovative as individual that Fei-Fei Li is, I'm pretty sure he got a lot of support, but again, not sufficient, right? Thinking like Michael Zuckerberg, if Mark has that talent, right? He's a brilliant businessman, but you know, in terms of the innovation, scientific, right? Fei-Fei Li also has very good the grasp of the business world. I mean, how it works, right? Academics, right? And, you know, even politics. She loves to give credit to everybody. It's one wheel of Chinese politics, right? Humble, right? Very humble. But again, she doesn't seem to have sufficient, you know, I don't know what is the support. How do I capture that? There's no organizationally, institutionally support behind her, right? If she has it, she could push the wheel really far and fast, right? Unfortunately, I don't think she was she's trusted by China, the community either, right? She seems to be, you know, I don't know, probably not going to trust her, right? Even me, if I go back after 40 years, nobody's going to really trust me that much, right? Maybe they not take me as outsider, but you know, I'm an outsider, right? In a way, right? So that's the peculiar Chinese culture, right? Side, right? It should be fine-tuned, more embracing the modern world, right? How the world really functions physically, right? Politically or culturally. Right? You cannot stuck in the past. But again, there are a lot of good sides of the Chinese culture as well, right? In the age of AI, hopefully we can move forward together, right? So we're talking about world model, just conversation, we touch on every element. That's also part of the physical world, right? Isn't it, right? The fabric of the culture, right? The customs, right? But essentially, people, right? You have to really capture that, right? How it relates to a person, right? We're talking about computing from a 2D, from one word, a large language model is already a lot of computing, right? In billions and billions throw it in, right? Now, in a multimodal, like image generation, right? You 1024, right? Somehow it pixels time 1024. But think of the 3D, like what physically, the spatial kind of the prediction, right? What is the visually how it appears to you as a physical world? Like Fei-Fei Li's model, I think it is marble, right? I remember that's marble, right? And exponentially demanding, right? Compounding that, right? Computing, right? And the other thing is training data, right? It's not like you can go to online and watching YouTube. It's 2D, right? It's language driven, right? Visuals, right? But it's not 3D world, right? I think promising, but very challenging, right? The other hand, I think Yann LeCun, I think what is it, J Brain or something? It is more abstract, right? Not try to paint a picture or draw the 3D world. He put the abstract, right? The predictively, what is the next dynamics of the physical world, right? He get the essence, like in impressionist sort of physics, right? But lose a lot of details, right? Which you save some computing, right? The implication will be like in a robotic world, right? The robots will be loving it. The robot doesn't really have to see all the details, the color, you know, how it relates to in the details, nuanced, you know, like what Fei-Fei Li pursue, right? But Fei-Fei Li is more like designing, construction, you know, making a game or movie. That's very, very applicable, right? Very useful. But at the same time, you look at Sora, it's not world model in it, right? Okay, like sedans, right? There are, it's not really a world model, right? But if you look at the latest DeepSeek, right? They have holistically multimodal. In a way, they already embedded a little bit of the world model in it, isn't it? Well, they will be marching towards that. Those group of scientists that truly they were genius, like since they were selected since they were age 12 or 15, the oldest age, ceiling. After that, they've been training like a crazy for like 10, 20 years. That sheer brilliance, this kind of genius in China, there are maybe not millions, right? There are many are wasted in like go to the West, right? So whether deliberately or whatever, right? But they still have a couple, maybe 500,000, maybe 1 million, the more, right? Every year they come more, right? It is hard to compete. It's not like just the number, it's the intelligence, the innovative, and their mind is really grounded in the Chinese culture, right? They don't really just love money or something. They do, but the dedication to part of the history, right? And dedication to the humanity, dedication to the people, the pro-human side. That's different to them, right? It is hard to match in the West, right? In the West, elites, right? Whoever had a little innovation, they claim the father of whatever ImageNet or something, right? Put a name on a star. I didn't think that Liang Wenfeng put his name on any of the products, right? Fei Li, I don't think she put anything on any sort of innovation, right? But in any case, that's part of the Chinese culture, right? You don't want to put a name on something, do you? I mean, lately we try to align with the international standard, doing some silly things. But again, that's another side of the physical world, right? What can we do? So you look at this world model, right? Another school, if you look at Hasselby, I suspect he has a little bit of Chinese intelligence for whatever reasons, right? The way he thinks, right? Seems, I don't know. Maybe he's surrounded by a lot of Chinese scientists, right? He looking at the physical world, a world model, differently. Yet to try to grasp that. But I listened to the chat. I didn't really get it. What this person put into the, like AlphaFold for the protein, like DNA, right? The scientific research, like chemistry part, won Nobel Prize. I think he has produced called Gemini or something, a deep model or something, right? I haven't really figured out, right? What is the theory approach, philosophy behind it? What his view of the world model, right? But essentially, they all try to push for the AGI, general intelligence, right? I'm not a big fan of AGI, I think Ian LeCun said, well, the current AI is not as intelligent as a dog. I don't think that's a correct or proper analogy. Why do you think humans should be more intelligent than dogs, right? What do you mean by that? Right? Dogs are very intelligent in many ways, like they smell, right? It looks at the world differently. It's a different intelligence. They call it dog intelligence, like machine intelligence, right? But if you measure using the human intelligence standard, of course, it's not as intelligent as humans, right? It's like you measure the Chinese medicine or Chinese philosophy against the modern whatever. Oh, that's not scientific. What is definition, right? Scientific is only a couple hundred years, right? What do you mean they're not scientific? It's kind of wrong way to approach it, right? It is inclusive, but of course you have to be a little rigor, right? Discipline there. You have to have benchmark, something like when you try to compete, evaluate the models, right? The same thing there, right? But you cannot just say, oh, it's not as intelligent as a dog, right? It doesn't mean it's not good. It's pretty good, very impressive. Well, see, you have to look at the bright side, whatever innovation, encourage people to move forward. And of course, the protagonist or the other side, the adversary or whatever different voice, it's good, it's welcome, it's necessary. But again, in the business world, that's probably not the best approach, right? But let's see how he can get, through the in Paris, he set up the shop, right? I thought it joined Mistral, but it didn't. I think there are other schools of world model, right? Like if I were doing it, if I gave in, 1,000 billion, what should I approach it, right? That's my question, right? I would, frankly, I would take the I Ching approach. I don't know whether people were laughing at me or not, but I think that's more realistic, like how we created language, right? Language is really significant creation of humans, right? But you need to go back to astrology first, then go down to the cells and the molecules, right? Atoms, right? And then you try to bring together the human dimensions, right? I call it non-dimensions and non-palace, doesn't matter, it's I Ching model, right? That foundation has the element there. If I may borrow it and describe it again, it's more like, in the center is obviously the meridians, right? 12经络, right? 七经八脉都在里边. So inclusive meridians, right? The English word, not sure what it means, right? But it means 经络, right? Then you encapsulate the whole universe, and encapsulate the whole body, encapsulate, whatever you want to encapsulate, like military strategy, business conduct, politics, culture, revolution, agriculture, industry, arts. That model is universal, right? That is the world. That's really, is that world really physically exist there? Or is it everybody really in their mind? You go back 1947, I believe, I forgot the name, right? I just get the essence, like the frequent fragrance of this flower. I don't remember the name of the flower or when I saw that. But in 1947, right? I think a person, it is not that. We modeling the world like I Ching the way, right? You always try to see perception, right? You create a world in your mind and then use that to do predictions, right? This naturally is part of the intelligence. That is really what the world model is. Modeling, right? Modeling the world is the world model, right? And potentially each and every person have its own world model, or reality, if you will, right? When you say a world model, you want to say it's real, physically exists. But what is physically exist? It's a question, right? Maybe you want to creatively, create that world for you, right? And in fact, you are, like perceptions. It doesn't really mean that your eyes can see. Your eyes can collect all of the information, but your brain has to process it. It's, I don't know whether it makes sense or not, right? Like one lady looks pretty beautiful for some mind, but it's not so beautiful, or even ugly for others, right? What do you say, right? I mean, this is part of the world, right? Is it physical, or is it logical, or is it mathematical, or is it emotional? Where is emotions from, right? Physical world. What is the physical model of your emotion if you try to model it? Is that really just a bunch of chemicals or quantum, whatever you call it? Or is it really one world model, like the smell? Your thoughts. I always say information is a physical existence. I don't know how many people believe me, but I think that is. Who created what? Like, is it the physical, what do you call it, atoms and, mutations of DNA, the physical, whatever, that the matter created the consciousness or thoughts? Or is it the other way around? It is a great debate of if you go back to the Buddhism, right? When the Bible says 7 days God created the world, people will say, oh no. But how do you know it didn't happen, right? I don't know. I cannot be sure. But how do you know? How are you so sure on the on that is, there has to be false? It doesn't have to be false, right? This may be a parable, maybe analogy. Could be some truth in it as well, right? You never know, right? The Buddhism must say 心能转物即是如来. That's what it is, right? Like if we have the world model, for example, right? And then some years later, 10 years later, or many years later, doesn't matter. We are actually able to create physics, create a world. We are able to create another species, like humans, right? Like we create robotics. What do we say? Are we the God? Let's say we are scattered across the galaxy somewhere because the Earth is gone. We have to survive somewhere. We have that technology, right? We can have the world model. We have the AI. We know how to create a world, right? We got a physical environment like another planet. You call it Earth or whatever, right? You create another world. You have created another species in 7 days. 7 days is enough for me, right? I used to say, hey, give me a week, I'll build a bank for you. I could do that. But do you give me a week? Meaning you have to provide the support, the investment, right? The same thing here, right? Again, I mean iteratively, right? You have to, evolution is required. Obviously, the physics, the chemicals, the mathematics has to have the space and time to play it out, right? That's the process of creation, right? We're not trying to get too much in those thinking, but we're just talking, right? World model is a fascinating part. I love it, right? It is probably next frontier, right? But different projects, right? Maybe 5, maybe Elon Musk is another one. Some scientists, I don't know. Some mathematicians, right? Let's take a quick look, right? What it means. Okay, next frontier. Really, what is it? AGI, whatever that means, right? At the final frontier, right? My interest is really how do we really approach it, right? How it's relevant to can it is applicable to what I do, like macrorobotics is mostly physical AI and robotics. Right now I have to doing the enterprise and agentic AI because that's where the AI is capable of, right? Making a PPT, write an article, making a movie at most, right? It's not that brilliant, right? I tried a few others, right? CDAN is probably the best, right? Also economic, right? But it's still not good enough, right? But getting better, right? Maybe with the world model in it actually can reach sort of breakthrough, right? Improve a lot, right? I don't know how to read this thing, right? Look at it. The final frontier AGI foundation, right? Okay. Evolution from text to reality. Okay. And what is this, right? Okay. Some algebra, mathematics, right? Gravity, pull, time, space, embedded intelligence framework. Okay, that's fine. Then sensor sonorenator. I don't know what it is, right? Agent environment interface, causal interface layer. That's Leon LeQuin, right? World model knowledge, representation. Is that who is this? Elon Musk? A physical simulation engine, multi-dimensional state machine, object injection dynamics. Okay, evolution. This still, I don't get it. I mean, I understand as I've been describing how I think about it. I don't know if you get it. Of course, this is the AI generated. I don't know what it means, but let's look at it. All right, the hypercycle has blurred the definition of the world model, right? Okay. I suspect Meta is doing it, right? They got Alexander Wang. He's a brilliant mind, right? As I said, maybe ethically he should be more grounded, right? But in genes, he's a Chinese folk, right? Chinese guy, probably not going too far, right? But yeah, he should maybe when he's aged a bit, right? He's more grounded, right? His brilliance has used the right cause. That's what I hope, right? But he's very good. That I can guarantee you. Meta will produce good stuff. Yeah. He may not always agree with Mark Zuckerberg, but I think they together formulate a good team. Maybe they can work together for some years, then each go their own ways. But in the meantime, they could produce something. That I'm pretty confident, right? Maybe this is one of those, right? World model. They have a product line called Avocado or something like that. Like, Google has banana. People are like, I don't know, what is this, right? Elon Musk's company got boring. I mean, I don't know what is Sam's innovation, like bleeding or something like that. I don't know. Oh, yeah. I mean, talking about the world model, I think NVIDIA, Jensen Huang, has a simulation, right? It's also kind of a world model, right? For robotics, right? I don't know, right? Let's see. And robotics simulation, right? Video generation, Sora, right? Okay. Gaming engine, the autonomous driving system, Elon Musk. VR spatial computing, that's probably Elon Musk. The hypercycle has blurred the definition of the world model. As multimodal AI matures, world model has become the industry favorite. Maybe just another spin, right? Multimodal, right? Buzzword, but slapping the label on every new product it's not clarity. I know, Nowadays, everybody say they are the AI expert. Well, most of them can spell AI, in the short form. But, that's probably it. But they love to put AI everything. AI ice cream, This is AI ice cream. It tastes better, Oh, okay. AI banking. I don't know. I don't understand what they say. It's AI medicine, right? You swallow the pill, you suddenly got AI. I mean, maybe. I don't know. Maybe you're eating little robots right now, no robots. Or AI pill, right? Could be. You never know, right? New medicine called AI, it fix your genes, right? It kill the cancer. Maybe, I don't know. Or Neuralink, right? Whatever. That's AI, that I know, right? Yeah, whatever the definition, it's a label, right? You can swap more content, you switch it, like AGI. Tomorrow you can change it, right? The concept originates the human mental engine of 1943 cognitive scientist Kenneth Karecki proposed that humans do not just react reality. We build small-scale internal model to simulate. 1947. No. You need to go back to like 3,000 years ago. This concept is already there. Why don't you read some books? I don't understand. Oh, okay. Maybe there's first time you publish, then you want to claim, that's fine, okay. Build a small scale internal models to simulate outcomes. Before taking action, AI is now attempting to replicate this exact biological process. All right. Very good. Right? Maybe that's how humans are created, right? Mental model, then world model. It's too simple, it's too simplistic. The three fundamental pillars of a true world model, what is it? Compresses the chaotic physical world into. Chaotic is what I like, right? Not everything has to be so disciplined, right? You have to have some fun, right? Without chaos, where is the fun, right? Everything is like, you know, E to E equal MC2. That's boring, isn't it, right? Small parallel universe, okay, inside the latent space. Wow, this is all big words, but you know, mathematically good. Allowing, but I don't know how many of you understand what is the latent space. I could explain it later, right? But AI is essential, right? Allowing AI to dream, predict, and act without the real world trial and error. Okay, that's good. And then, you know, number one is obviously representation, the vision, right? And number two is prediction, the memory, and planning, control. Wow, that's good. Like RPP or RPC, something like that, right? Or VMC, okay. VMC, maybe, right? Vision, okay, memory, or memorize, and then control, planning. So understanding what is there, extracting spatial and geometric relationships physically, and then simulating what happens next. The internal physics engine, predicting future states, and then planning control, deciding how to act, training optimal strategies inside the simulation. Okay, that's interesting, isn't it? I mean, pretty cool. The paradigm shift from the LLMs to word models. The large language model, LLMs, is code unit, lexicon tokens, environment, static text, primary task, predicting the next word, and then based on the statistical probability. Learning styles, indirect knowledge, constraints, Fei-Fei Li. It is about seeing things. Oh, world model is about seeing and doing things. Okay, Fei-Fei Li is very talented. Model world, right? Core unit, pixels, voxels. Okay, I don't even know such a word. Maybe vision, visual, right? A voice, vertical, like a tube, right? 3 dimensions. Environment dynamics physics. Primary tasks, predicting the next state, frame an action based on the physical laws, right? Learning style, direct interaction, and causal inference. Learning style of the large language model, indirect knowledge, container. LLM, the primary task, predicting the next word. World model is predicting the next state, frame, or action based on the physical laws. What is physical laws? Where is people's intuition? How do you predict humans' next action? What is what they see? Do you know? It's like when you do science, you really can focus on very limited elements of the real thing, right? Maybe that's the whole thing that you think is real, but it's far from real, isn't it? I think you create your individual, but you know, at least common enough, right? But still very individual, right? Okay. And then you must understand physical reality to break through the LLM ceiling. Scaling LLMs create highly articulate models, but they lack a direct mapping of the physical reality. This is more, I don't know how to read the word, blurred, motivates, Moravec's paradox. This is Maverick's paradox. In action, AI easily matters high-level logic coding tasks, but fails the basic animalistic perception and physical interaction. Okay, that's true, right? It's like a philosopher or strategist, right? A military strategist, if you ask him to take up a spear and fight, he may not be able to do that, right? But doesn't mean he cannot be a strategic general, right? A lot of people like that. Okay. The most brilliant military general normally just a philosopher, or even just a scholar, a teacher, right? Why? Tell me why. If you're so wanting to be physical, right? Mm-hmm. Got the answer? Okay, the core AI must understand the physical reality to break through the feeling, right? Compute scale, LLM, statistically, world models. I want to make a comment. I think I made it before, I'm not sure. Any of you still remember? Statistics is people interpret it very wrong, right? Like in a large language model is a good illustration. But it have, I think how many billion or trillion, right, parameters? I think latest DeepSeek V version 4, a trillion token, right? How many parameters, dimensions? What is the weight distribution, right? But it uses MOE, right? It's only partial of those will be triggered every time. That's why I make it more economic. If you remember the latent space, right? The attention model is more specialized, right? That's true innovation mathematically, right? But let's see. If you are the all-seeing eye, whatever you call it, the god or saint or whatever, sage, they can compute these 1 trillion parameters like DeepSeek or OpenAI can do. Right? They know each and every parameter. So they know each and every weight, how they relate to each other. The whole vector is not even a problem. They see everything, right? So do you still think statistical is a probabilistic thing? Not at all. There's no probabilistic. It's very short, very precise. That's how the world functions. All-seeing eye will tell you, no, it's not probabilistic. It's not statistical, meaning very precise. Not even a little bit of inaccuracy. Okay? That's what statistical really means. It's a mathematical precision called statistical. But of course, from the trillion dimensions, for example, parameters, you deduce it to 10 or even 2 or 3 maximum, like 3D. Of course, it's blurred, right? Because you reduce too much of the dimensions from a trillion to 3 or to 10. Of course, it becomes kind of probabilistic. But it's not the reality. That's not the physical model. Okay? So if you think about it, what you're doing of the world model, think about it, from the 3 to trillion, think of the dimensions. If you want to really get the world model, what do? It's the scale of precision, right? Maybe from 3, you make it 3,000 or 3 million, okay? Then you see that's the world model, but it's still lacking a lot of details, right? So what do you see? You want to be the all-seeing eye to get the real world? How real do you want to be? What is really a world model? That's my thinking. Statistically, right? Statistical meaning precision. You wouldn't even allow one little bit of imprecision. That's statistical. But people perceive it, oh, statistical is guessing, it's probabilistic, it's not real, not precise. No, the opposite is true. Same thing in the world model. What do you mean by world model, right? Like from the 3 parameter, you want to get the world model, or from the 30 or 3,000 or 3 million, or that trillion or 3 trillion. How world do you want the world to be? Depends on your capacity level, that all-seeing eye, or the computing power, or how many data parameters you want to put. Right? Do you get it? Ceiling. What is the ceiling? Well, you go through the ceiling, the current physics wouldn't be applicable. It's a different universe, a different physics. So whatever you created reality in this physical world, it's only partial, isn't it? Any case, getting a little bit more over somebody's mind, right? Making sense of the industry, the 3-layer architecture. To understand the current race between the Meta, OpenAI, and Google, we must separate the abstract theory from the actual system being built. All right, the top tier, the top layer, agent training and purpose, simulators and embedded agents, letting AI live, play, and take action. All right, dependency, the middle tier. Immediately, a world generation, reconstructing the world to AI. We see it, the current industry battleground, the base layer, theory and paradigm, abstract representation, predicting structural change and causal logic. Causal logic. Interesting. Who caused what? It's a good question, is it? We're going to talk a bit more, right? This was a movie, right? I've been watching many years ago, right? From Hong Kong. It's about causal, okay? Again, it's Buddhism, right? If you read a bit of text, then you will see they're more scientific than what you perceive, right? They're really not religious at all. They're very scientific in a way. Very physical, if you will. It's not superstitious. I really encourage you to read a bit, right? I might spend a few nights and just read through some diamond mantra, give you a taste what it is, right? And also I Ching as well. They're not superstitious. They're not just metaphysics. They're very scientific, very physical. Okay, probably more than what you can comprehend if you are really educated just in the modern science, right? When you try to do something like as dynamic, as pervasive as AI, you need to expand your mind, right? Don't lock yourself into just what you believe that modern science can encapsulate. No, science is about to evolve, to prove, to break through the boundaries, right? To prove whatever you learned before is not a totality, right? That's what science is, right? And in fact, don't get into Pluto kind of wave. Oh, there has to be a finite something in a box somewhere in some other star or galaxy. We're just sucking some knowledge from there. That's called whatever. No, I don't believe in that, right? It's just it's just kind of thinking, right? It's not real, right? And that's why, how do you measure intelligence? Intelligence comes from open mind. The world has to be open. If it is definite, you already locked yourself in. You likely have little intelligence. It's like AI. AI has no intelligence at all because it's a closed loop, boxed in kind of mathematical competition. Doesn't matter how you simulate, it's not open-minded. If we want to do better, it has to allow the real world, what we live in, the chaotic, the false positive. Not everything is causal, right? Many is emotional. Okay, that's the real world. Okay, how do you really You want to use science and whatever the mathematics to do everything? Maybe you can, maybe you cannot. Maybe you did everything, it's only partial. You call it everything, but it's not. It's small part of everything, right? It's not really everything, right? So, okay, I have to eat a little bit. I mean, think about it. It's a conversation, right? Okay. This route 1, the video generation, painting the world. Painting with the AI brush, right? Yeah. Models like OpenAI Sora acting as a visual simulator. And okay. You predict the next frame, okay? Training a massive amount of video. The episode. Implicit physical rules like gravity and light, but predicting the next video frame. Okay. The pros: the skills perfectly with compute, the data highly visible and immediate commercial use. The cons: implicit understanding only means learns pixel probability, not true physics. Cannot explicit answer the car 3D. How tall, how long, how, whatever, dimensions. Okay? Build the world. It's 50 Li, right? World not Marvel. I thought it's Marble. Marvel, okay. Instead of generating 2D pixels, a spatial intelligence model like World Labs 50 Li's Marvel model, it's the world AI model, right? Explicitly reconstruct full 3D environment from prompts and ensuring absolute geometric accuracy. Okay, impressive. Okay. True, the pros and true spatial logic, the model understand exact dimensions, object, permanence and collision natively interactable. Accounts is high barrier to entry, high quality 3D training data is scarce, and rendering requires massive compute power compared to 2D. Okay. Okay, I got it. I think I got it. Agent. It's Google, right? 23. It's like playing in the world, right? Google is 23 and SEMA 2. Skip the real world entirely. Generating interactive, real-time video game environment for AI agent to endlessly trial and error complex tasks. Key breakthroughs: long-term consistency. An agent writes on the virtual blackboard, leaves room and the writing still there when it returns. Memory, right? Take action, receive immediate feedback, learn and adapt. Okay. What is this? Let's think about it. Take action, receive immediate feedbacks. learn and adapt. Key breakthrough, long-term consistency. An agent can go back to history, right? Not just to predict the future. Okay. It's interesting, right? Playing the inner world. It's interesting. All right. There's another school of thought, a theory approach, abstract structure, understanding the rules. Oh, that's Yann LeCun. Japa, I don't know what it means, architect, argues that the generating pixels is a waste of compute. It compresses reality into the hidden latent space, ignoring visual details. Okay, it's very mathematical, right? To solely predict structural and causal outcomes, right? Okay, true. Encoder ignores lighting, shadows, and textures. It only care about physics. What direction will the ball roll, and will it hit on the ball? Okay, proofs compute efficient and highly generalized causal logic. Cause invisible to the eye and extremely difficult to benchmark. Yeah, that's number 4. Yann LeCun. The embedded AI revolution simulation to real transfer. Right, this is robotic, right? World models eliminate the need for hard-coded robotics by simulating millions of physical interactions internally. Machine can generalize the capacity across entirely novel environment. That's NVIDIA is doing, right? Robotics. No longer programmed for specific tasks. Robotics simulates the friction and physics of lifting an unfamiliar car and its internal model before executing the physical movement. Okay, embedded AI revolution. That's interesting, right? The world model eliminates the need for hard-coded robots by simulating millions of physical interactions internally. Machines gain generalized capabilities across entirely novel environment, generalized intelligence, right? Autonomous driving, a very good applicability, shifting from reactive perception to predictive simulation. The AV generates thousands of potential behavioral paths for erratic pedestrians in real time to find the that's the Chinese autonomous car model, isn't it? They have radars actually, right? Like you look Huawei car, right? They have very advanced military-grade radars, right? Like the all-seeing eye sees everything actually, all the elements. I mean, not all the elements, as much as possible, right? Not just like Tesla, right? But again, this is interesting, right? I love it. I really love it. Redefining the spatial computing and context generation. Okay, the ability to instantly generate consistent physical rules changes how we interact with digital media, moving us from static software to fly-generated realities. Okay, gaming and content, smart wearables. Okay, evolution from passive recorders to active world understanding engines. Your glasses won't just record videos, they will understand 3D spatial geometries, anticipate missing ingredients while you cook, and predict physical hazards, right? Okay. And the dark side of it, systematic hallucination and real-world risk. When AI isn't acting in the physical world based on its internal simulation, the cost of AI hallucination scales from bad text output to catastrophic physical failure. a simulation to real gap, right? The visual world will never 100% match the reality if AI misjudges the weight of collision physics in the real world. The physics will fail dangerously in the real world. Okay. The systemic hallucination, structural integrity, miscalculation, unlike a language error, a structural hallucination, e.g. miscalculation, the structural integrity of a generative brain is deeply embedded in the model's logic and much harder to detect. Yeah. It's like some walls, the general miscalculate, right? Casualties, right? It's all based on prediction, right? Before you fire, you need to collect information. That's why they use AI in a wall right now, in Iran, right? It's very critical elements of it. Actually, they change the nature of the wall. AI, right? Nothing else. It's AI. Hyper reality and deep fakes. Blurred reality. As generative world became physically and temporal, the boundary between the VR and the reality blurs, amplifying the risks of uncontainable deepfakes and social manipulation. Interesting, right? Very interesting. Love it. Okay, so what is this? The final stepping stone to the true GI. Video 3D simulators and Java. We do not know which route. Video 3D spatial agent simulator or abstract structure. Put it a name there. Video is more like Seedance, Sora kind of thing. And 3D spatial is Lee, World Labs, the Marvel, right? And the agent simulation from Google, DeepMind, that's Genie, and what is the other word? And then the abstract structure is more Yang LeCun, Japa, right? Interesting, right? Embedded ADI. Okay. Well, at least we took a cursory review of what world model is, right? It's next frontier. It's going to be important to me, right? Because my major business is more robotics, right? And
对酒当歌，人生几何？譬如朝露去日苦。